Hi, this is Dave, and today we are bringing Builders of Blankenburg to the table. This is designed by Peter Schultz, published by Cobblestone Games. Now this is a city building game for 2 to 5 players. Plays in roughly an hour to an hour and a half, and in Builders of Blankenburg, we are builders trying to gain the most prestige by building the buildings that citizens are going to want to stay in the most and building the best types of buildings. There's also a little mini expansion called Cutthroat that I'm going to talk about at the end of the gameplay overview, so check that out. But let's take a look at this game, how it's played, and I'll come back and I'll share my thoughts. Okay, here I have Builders of Blankenburg set up for 2 players. Let me quickly go over the components that come in the game. We have our game board where all the action is going to be taking place. We also have a number of different resources. We have stone, we have wood, we have marble, we have iron, we have glass. There's also a bunch of coins that come in the game. We've got some gold coins and we have a lot of these silver coins, which are the currency in the game. There are a number of different cards that come in the game. We have some different plans for structures that we can build. We have these ones that are level 1 or basic plans. These number 2 are grand plans. And we also have some citizens that are going to be inhabiting our town. We have visitors that will come along, and we also have some events that are going to take place over the course of the game. Now, let's take a look at the game board itself. We have a prestige track up at the top that is going to keep track of the score of the game, so we will be moving along here. There are different districts in our town that are going to have different types of buildings that will be built there, and there's different colored outlines for the different building types. So let me zoom in so you can see a little bit more. We have some orange ones that are along here, and there are red and green and blue ones that are on the game board. And we have a spot for our plans. These ones that are out are called communal plans, so anybody can work on these. We have this bidding wheel because there's an auction that takes place in the game to get resources. I'll talk about that shortly. Then we have this section over here, space for events that are going to happen, visitors that come along, and then citizens that are going to populate our city. This also acts as a counter for the game. The number of rounds, the maximum number of rounds will be 12 in this game. Now, the purpose of this whole game is to earn prestige by building a number of buildings, and we're going to do that by obtaining different resources. And at the beginning of the game, each player is going to start off with 1 stone and 1 wood for their building resources, and they're also going to have 12 pieces of silver, and they're going to place them behind their screen. Each player is going to have a screen that looks like this, nice thick cardboard, and it's going to be a quick reference guide, and it's going to tell you what each of the buildings are, and what the resources required to build them are. And then you'll see this space. This will tell you how many people can stay in those buildings, the prestige that a player will earn when they build them, and then also this is income that they will receive when people come to stay in their buildings. Each player is also going to take their coat of arms symbols, place them behind there. The starting player will receive the key to Blankenburg. Now each player is going to draw a character card. This one happens to be the miser, and so this is, I'm going to begin the game with 2 extra silver, so I'll have 14 pieces instead of 12, and so whenever I bid 0, I'll receive 3 more silver than normal, and that's going to be when it comes to this auction, and I'll get to that shortly. And each player is going to receive a starter basic plan. The starters will all have stars on them. And if we look at this border, this is going to correspond to the specific section of the board it can be built on. The requirements to build this are down at the bottom. This is going to require 2 stone to build this cottage. And when we build it, we're going to receive 1 prestige. And if people come to stay there, we will receive 1 silver. And down at the bottom will show that 1 person can stay in this structure. So each player is going to have a different character and a starting resource. So for example, we have this player over here has the noble. It says you begin the game with an extra 4 silver and 1 unit of gold. And their starting building is a tavern. And the tavern can have 2 people stay in there. Now, a couple things to note about when we start wanting to build buildings. We have different citizens that are going to be inhabiting the town, and they are going to be looking for specific places to stay. So, for example, this priest, the first choice is to stay at a parish, second would be a chapel, and third would be a cottage. And the butcher would be looking to stay at a tutor, a shop, or a tavern. So, and these also have little stars on them. These are starter citizens. And so it tries to keep the game balanced and also a good flow in the beginning of the game. So from what you've seen at the setup, both players starting buildings will have potential to gain income. So what's going to happen in the game, it's divided up into a number of phases. There's 4 phases, and the first one is going to be the bidding phase. So whoever the starting player is, whoever is the key, is going to choose a number of resources equal to 1 less than the number of players. So I will choose 1 resource, and we're going to place it on this bidding wheel. And looking at the plans that I have behind here, and also the communal plans, I have an idea of what I might want to build, and so I'm going to choose 1 stone and place it on the bidding wheel. Next, I'm going to take a number of dice. These dice equal to the number of players, so it's 2, and I'm going to roll them, and I'm going to add additional resources to the bidding wheel. And so this just shows up with 2 wood. So 2 wood are going to go right there. Now what's going to happen is is going to be a bidding thing where players are going to take a number of coins in their hand, and they will hold them out, and everybody's going to do a simultaneous reveal, and whoever has the most is going to have first choice of taking resources. And we're going to go around for each of the number of players, and they'll pay the resources, and they'll take from one of the different sections. And also, if there's gold available, they'll be able to take them. So this one, and if you choose to bid 0, you don't get any resources, but you will be able to take 3 silver. So if the miser bids 0, I'm going to end up taking 6 silver instead. So it's a way for me, if I'm running low on cash, I can just build and take 6, but it's going to set me behind on getting resources. So let's say, for example, I'm going to bid 2, and the other player doesn't bid anything. I'll pay my 2 silver to the bank, and then I'll be able to take resources from one of these different sections. Maybe I want this stone, so I'll take it, put it behind. The other player, if they bid, would be able to take resources and put them behind them. But these are going to stay out there for the game. So sometimes these sections will become a little bit more lucrative. But when you take resources off there, you can take a maximum of 3. So this is kind of a neat little bidding wheel here. So after the whole bidding phase is over, we're going to move into what's called the building phase. And starting with the active player and moving around, players are going to be able to spend resources and construct one of their structures according to their plans. Now, I have enough resources to build this chapel, and so I'm going to pay my resources, 2 stone and 1 wood. I'll put them up here. And then what I have to do is take this particular card, this chapel, and I have to place it in a district where there are blue borders. So I'll place this up here. And what I'm going to do next is I will take one of my coat of arms markers and I will place it on to the board to show that it's mine. When I construct it, I'm going to receive 2 prestige, so I'll move 2 prestige up on this track. And I will also be knowing that I have 1 person that can stay there, and the priest is going to be looking for a chapel to stay at, so that's going to be good for me. So one of the things that I also need to be aware of while we're talking about this is that certain times of the game there's events where buildings can become damaged. If you do, you flip your coat of arms over to the other side, and nobody can stay there that particular round because the building is uninhabitable. But you can actually do repairs. And another thing that you can do is demolish some of your buildings. And if they use stone or wood, you can actually get resources back. And this is a good thing to do because sometimes you may want to take down one of your basic buildings and put up something that's more of a grand plan. And so what's going to happen, and then also is these are the only places where those blue cards can be built. So, and then each player is going to continue to do that. So let's say, for example, that the other player had resources and they were to build this tavern, and it's going to go in this green section, so they can put it right here. So everybody's done their building, they've paid their resources, this guy has placed his marker on it to show that it's his, and we will move on to what's called the income phase. In the beginning of the income phase, we're going to reveal an event, and this one says, Blizzard. Each player must pay 1 silver per residential structure owned. Well, at this point, nobody owns a residential structure. Those would be green ones, and so we don't have to worry about paying this, but otherwise we would have to pay that. So that's the event that's currently going on. And we also will look at the current visitor who's going to come to town. And it says, we have the tax collector. He's going to be looking to stay at the town hall or the manor. It says each player must pay 1 silver per structure owned. And so I'll have to pay 1 silver to the bank. And so will the other player. They'll pay their silver as well. Now we're going to look at the different people and see where they're going to stay. And if there's a tie, if both people own the same type of structure, the tie is going to be broken with the starting player. But if we look with the visitor first, he's going to look to stay at the town hall or manor. And since neither one of those are built, he's actually going to stay at this inn. He will stay at an inn. And if nobody owns an inn, he'll stay at the one that's on the board. So nobody's going to get any money from him. Now the priest, he was going to stay at the chapel. So I will receive 1 income from that priest for staying there. So I'll take 1 from the bank, add it to my coffers. And the butcher is going to end up staying at the tavern. And then he will receive money as well. And then what's going to happen is finally, after the income phase, we're going to move into a marketplace phase. Now during the marketplace phase, players have an opportunity to buy resources from this resource market. In the first round, you can choose to buy 1 resource for 2 silver. You can only buy 1 piece if I choose to or not, or you can choose to pass. And you can sell as many resources as you want, but you're going to sell them for 1. This first round is going to cost for 2, and then a second round of buying will go around, and you can purchase resources for 3. And so say, for example, if I were to pay and I bought this glass is no longer available for anybody else to purchase this particular round. So they are limited on the resources. Once the marketplace is over, phase is over, at the end of the turn, what's going to happen is we will have to refill these to at least, there has to be 1 there for a 2-player game. Normally there would be 2, so that people have an opportunity to buy stone and wood. Those are the most basic resources. And then what's going to happen is we will refill these plans, communal plans, and we also have a new citizen will show up. Now also, over the course of the game, players can choose to purchase new plans. They can pay for them and add them to their hand to build. And we're just going to continue around now looking for, we'll have another auction, more resources will come out. And now here's an interesting thing. If we look at this particular spot, this guard and this butcher are both looking to stay at a tavern. And if I don't build something, for example, like if I don't build this shop that just came out, there's a shop right here. As the first player, if I don't build this shop, what's going to happen is the other player who owns the tavern, the butcher will stay there, and this guard potentially. So they could receive double income for those 2 people that stay there. And so over the course of the game, this board is going to fill up with different types of buildings. And we will have all sorts of different spaces that will fill up. And either this either this whole town is going to be built, or all 12 citizens will come out. That's going to trigger the end of the game. And what's going to happen is we will add up our number of resources. Each piece of silver, or each 10 pieces is worth 1 prestige point. Each gold that we have is going to be worth 1 prestige. And we will look, and whoever has the most prestige on the prestige track is the winner. And that's how you play Builders of Blankenburg. There also is a mini expansion for this game called Cutthroat. And what that is going to do is add a couple of new characters to the game. So we have a Money Changer and the Abbot. These are going to come in for and give additional characters to play the game. There's also going to be more events that are going to come into the game, and a few more visitors to come along as well. And most importantly, there's going to be these cards, these Cutthroat cards, that are going to allow for some player interaction. So for example, intimidation. It says a player of your choice is not allowed to build this turn. Forgery. Switch the coat of arms of any two structures. So this is going to add some player interaction to the game. And also you can play a variant where if you hold on to this, if you don't use this at the end of the game, if you choose to be like a chivalry bonus, they call it. If you choose not to use them, then you would get 1 prestige bonus at the end of the game. But each player is going to be dealt 1, and then they can choose to use it, play it on their turn. For example, murder. Remove a citizen of your choice from the track. So there's different ways to mess with your opponents. It's a neat little mini expansion that's currently, it's on a Kickstarter right now. It's an add-on to add a little bit of player interaction in the Builders of Blankenburg. Alright, so you got a chance to see a little bit of Builders of Blankenburg and how it's played in the flow, and also the mini expansion called Cutthroat. And let's talk about this game. First of all, let me talk about the manufacturing of this, because I think it's done really, really well. There's lots of nice pieces. The card quality is all excellent stock. I like the artwork on there. I had no issues at all with the punch boards with all of these little coins. I had nothing sticking, no tearing or anything like that. Same thing with all of these little coat of arms things. And the player screens, these are made out of cardboard stock. They are not like card stock, so these are going to put up with a lot of abuse. They're not going to get folded or bent over, so these are done really, really well as well. The game board itself is done really, really well, and one of the things that I wanted to show you was this. There is an alternate art side on the back side of the board. So we have this one with the regular side that I showed you before, but on the back we have this alternate artwork that that you can choose to play with as well. And so it's laid out slightly different, and it's going to play a little different with your with the different player counts. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. So if you want to play that, that reminds me of something like Tasty Minstrel Games did with their game Il Vecchio. So you had 2 different sides of the board, different artwork for a different feel, and that's the same thing that you've got here. And so I think this was a good use of the board having like an alternate side. The other thing too that in here is that even though the box says 2 to 5 players, there's a note in the rules, and they also added additional components that you can play 6 players, which is a really, really, really good thing. As we are expanding with the number of games that are available, it is really, really important to start accommodating player groups with more than 4 or 5 players. So 6 is really good. A lot of times, even in my own playing groups, we'll have a 6th person that comes along, and that just really throws a wrench in the works for games that will cap out at 5. So this is going to be good for accommodating a slightly larger playing group. So I think that that's good. Now, let's get into the gameplay itself, because there is some neat things in this game. I really like the way that the bidding wheel works. One of the active players, they choose to seed it with stuff, and then you do have some random resources that are going to be generated. So it's kind of like, like Settlers of Catan. You roll a dice, and whatever ones are, whatever comes up is going to produce. So you have a little bit of randomness there, so you really don't know what's going to be coming up there. But when all is said and done, you will be able to see what you're going to be bidding on. And so you have a little bit of that, like, oh, come on, you want the roll, like, all right, oh, yes, there's stone is going to be on there this time, and I want that stone. So you've got that little feel in that particular aspect of the game. And so everybody's going to do their bidding, and they're going to take their pieces, and then obviously the building. You're going to want to try to keep an eye on what the citizens are coming out, and try to build the buildings that are going to accommodate them because of your income. And so the other thing that this game generates, there's almost like a little bit of an engine building aspect in here, where as you're seeing citizens coming out and you're building stuff, you know that you're going to have this income coming each time. But pay attention to what those citizens are looking for, and perhaps you can build something a little bit more attractive for some of those citizens to come along. But it's really, really neat. And I like the fact that as the citizens are coming along, they are staying there, and the game acts as a timer with the 12 rounds. Now, when you use the Cutthroat expansion, some of those cards, they are going to offer some player interaction, and you can do things to change things up, maybe even extend the game an additional round if you use the murder card, because you can basically kill a citizen in one of the spaces. But there are events when extra visitors are going to come out, so it kind of does balance it out. But sometimes if that event doesn't show up, the game may be able to extend another round, which is a good thing, so it can buy some time. And also can throw a wrench in your works with those interactive cards where you can start swapping banners, like coats of arms, so you can all of a sudden say, well, you know what, that building that you had, now that's mine, and this one is yours, and you can have this like kind of not so good one. So those are some interesting things that the mini expansion adds to it. When playing the game, I really like the flow of the game. You have the different building types, and then when spaces are full, you have the ability to demolish buildings and then still get resources back. So a lot of times if you build a starting thing, like if I were to build this cottage, it's really only going to be worth 1 prestige, and I'm only going to gain a little bit of money, can only hold 1 person. Well, in that particular district, and this would be like a residential district, if something better comes along, I'm going to knock this down and I'll be able to get at least 1 stone back. So I'm really only out 1 stone when I built it, so maybe for a little bit of time I've got room for somebody to come along and gain some money, but eventually I'm going to knock this down and build something better. So I like how that goes. Overall, I think that the game is it's very family friendly. The rules are very well written. The rule book can be a little bit wordy, so you just have to make sure that you read through the paragraphs to get all the information. There are good examples that are in there, but overall I think it's very, very well done. There are some frequently asked questions at the end of the rule book. Now, in this game, if there is one negative point that I have on here, and that would be the graphic design on the boards. I found that at first it can be a little confusing to find out where the buildings go and what types they are, and so you have to get used to that, looking for the dotted lines. So at first it's a little bit you're kind of scrounging looking for where they go, but then after that it makes sense. But the first couple of rounds when you're playing, you're looking around and it's like, oh, that goes there, this goes there, oh, okay. And so it takes some getting used to. I think that instead of having the dashed lines, there could have been a solid line. It might have been a little bit easier to see. But I also think that maybe the artist was wanting to try to bring the board art out a little bit more. But that was probably my one negative thing in here. So in closing, overall, I really think this is a really fun game. I enjoyed playing it. Kids can play it, adults can play it. It's very family friendly. It's going to certainly teach you with the auctions about making sure that you want to hold on to, how to wisely use your money. And also just remember that if you don't necessarily get what you want in the auction, that you can also get things from the marketplace, hopefully, as well. So some neat things, really a nice game that I enjoyed, worthy of being added to my collection. And if it's something that you're interested in, make sure that you check it out as well. That is Builders of Blankenburg. And that's it for now, and join me again next time as we take a look at another game and we bring it to the table. We'll see you. Bye-bye.